Hopefully you all can hear me. This training is going to be very basic, and I'm going to show you how to get to a residential purchase agreement, also known as an RPA, and then how to pretty much set it up for the first few sections. There's a video I recorded starting at the inspection section and going all the way towards the end of it. You can watch that video if you want to learn how to fill out the rest of the RPA or how to explain it. If you just want a copy of the RPA with normal lines filled in with what I usually fill in, I'm going to upload that as well. It obviously is a case by case. You will not put the same contingency dates or the same prices or the same additional terms for every deal. It's always different, but I do use a standard template that I try to keep the same because I think a lot of the things on the RPA can stay the same. So we're going to start right now. So right now I'm in my dashboard of the MLS. If you don't know how to get here, it is glvar.clarity.net. Once you get in, it's going to ask you to log in with your PID and your password. If you don't know those, you're going to have to talk to LVR to get a password or set it up. Once you do, save this as a bookmark so you never have to type that in again. You're just going to click the bookmark and it's going to take you to the login screen. Once you log in, you have all these options. They're pretty much apps for realtors. Matrix is the MLS. Transaction Desk is where all the documents are, and so on and so forth. For today, we're going to be just opening a residential purchase agreement. It's going to be blank. I'm just going to go over the document. I'm not going to teach you how to pull one up from a listing and fill that out. That'll be a different video. But right now, we're just going over the RPA. So click on Transaction Desk. And once it loads, here we go. Now I am in my transaction desk right now. We got transactions, signings, forms, documents, everything you can think of. I'm just going to go to a blank document. So when I press forms, this is all the forms that Transaction Desk has. And it has most forms you will use in a contract or in an escrow. Still loading. I don't have the fastest internet, obviously. Here we go. So in the search bar, I'm just going to type in purchase. And it's going to pop up everything that has that in it. And I'm going to go down to residential purchase agreement. Here's a guide if you want to go through that. It is a good guide, but click on the residential purchase agreement. Now I am going to create a standalone form. You usually would not do this. You would do it differently. But again, this is just to show you the form, explain it, and show you how I fill it out. Okay, here we go. Thank you for your patience. All right, so obviously number one, you're gonna fill in the date, and the date will always be the date that you're writing the offer. Okay, and then here are the buyer's names. Those are filled out previously. You can watch in another video how I really write an offer. Again, this is just to give you expertise and give you show you this form. It is not to show you how to start it with some buyers. But this would be the buyer's name. This would be the address. Okay, in the area of Las Vegas, Nevada, county of Clark. This is the zip code, and this is the APN. APN is assessor's parcel number. It is like the social security number of a piece of land that the house sits on. You can find that on the assessor's record website or on the MLS. And this would be the purchase price. So for example, we're buying this for $400,000. It would already be there because when you set it up earlier, you put in these pieces of information. Again, I'm skipping that. I'm just showing you the form. Okay, right here. On the terms and conditions contained herein, buyer does or does not intend to occupy the property as a residence. Are they buying it to live in it or not? If it's an investor and they're buying it to rent it out or to flip it, you have to click does not. You can't lie on that. If you're found to be lying, that can be deceitful and you could lose your license over that. So be honest. And for this example, we're going to say does. Okay, so here is the breakdown of just the offer itself, the money itself. So number one, you're going to put in the earnest money deposit, okay, EMD. So you're going to write in whatever the EMD is on the MLS. Usually the sellers request an EMD. I always put in what the sellers request unless it is just absolutely absurd, like somebody wants a $20,000 EMD on a $200,000 house. Or if you're trying to compete with other offers, you could increase this EMD to show that your buyer is serious and to try and beat other offers without changing anything about the offer. Because remember, this goes towards down payment. So it doesn't matter if this is $5,000, $10,000, $50,000. It goes towards the down payment of the house. It's nothing extra. The sale price is still $400,000. This could be $5, $10, $20. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change the sale price. So if you're trying to compete and the seller's asking for $5,000 and your buyer's like, hey, I want to win this house, you could go to your buyer and say, hey, are you willing to put down $10,000 or $15,000 on earnest money deposit? If your buyer says yes, there's a great way to do it. Remember though, this is at risk. Once you deposit this EMD, it is tough to get back. So don't go depositing $80,000 just to make a good offer if your buyer isn't aware that that money could be stuck in escrow. So we'll just write it back at 5. And remember, on the MLS sheet at the very bottom, it does say earnest money deposit requested, and it'll show you an amount. So I would check, is it presented with this offer or no? You're never going to present an EMD with an offer. It is wire transferred within 2 business days. Okay? Just write that. Now what you're going to read is, upon acceptance, earnest money is to be deposited within 1 business day, or you're going to have to write 2 now. You are wiring it to escrow holder, nobody else. Additional deposits, always 0 unless you're going to get crazy, but don't get crazy. If you're going to get crazy, talk to me. This agreement is contingent upon buyer qualifying for a new loan. Most of the time, it will be a new loan. Are you conventional? Are you FHA? This is FHA, not this box. This box. Are you VA? Are you other? Let's just go conventional. I always dash out my blank spaces. Now, you're going to want to skip this line for a second, okay? Down here, this agreement is contingent upon buyer qualifying to assume a loan. Most of the time, you will not assume a loan. Okay, and then buyer to execute a promissory note secured by deed of trust in the financing addendum. This is usually where you would do like seller financing. If the seller owns a house outright and they're going to finance the loan, you would do it here. But for most times, that'll be 0s. And now finally, balance of purchase price. This is the balance of down payment and good funds to be paid prior to close of escrow. This is what's left of the down payment. So if your buyer is putting down 10% on $400,000, that would be 40 grand. Well, you've already put down 5. How much of the 40 grand is left at close of escrow? 35, right? 35,000 is left because they're putting down a total of 40 and they've already given 5. So 40 minus 5 is 35. Now, skip this line, right? How much is their loan? Well, if they're buying the house for 400,000 and they're putting down 40, how much is their loan? 400,000 minus 40. $360,000. That is their loan. Try to do the math on this 5 or 6 times, okay? Because here's the thing. You're going to think you're right and you're wrong. Then you're going to think you're right again, and you're wrong. And remember that sometimes this is $362,725.17. You have to make sure everything adds up correctly. All right, this will be the buyer's name and the address. That should be pre-populated. Additional financing, let's go here. New loan application, within done. If you are making an offer on a house that's getting a loan, your buyer has already spoken to a lender and already got a pre-approval letter. This says that within blank days, they will go talk to a lender to get a pre-approval. Nope, it's already happened, you write done. Don't write 1, 2, 0, write done. Appraisal contingency. How long does your buyer have to get an appraisal ordered, paid for, the appraisal done, and the value back? Because remember, if the value comes back lower than $400,000, you have to negotiate with the seller how you're going to move forward. That could be the buyer paying cash above appraisal. That could be the seller coming down in sales price. That could be a mixture. That could be you throwing in some commission. That could be a lot of stuff. So that all needs to happen in this contingency. So I usually write 18, but if I want to get crazy, I can write 8. Robert Coomer can do it in 8 days. That's crazy. If you're not using Robert Coomer and you're using any other lender, you're probably gonna have to write 18, maybe 15. What this also means, and if you read it, it's very clear, if the residential purchase agreement is not canceled in writing before this deadline, 18, buyers shall have waived their appraisal contingency and thus waive the right to get their refund on the EMD. So your $5,000 is at risk if you don't figure out the appraisal issue by day 18. Real quickly, when everybody accepts the offer, that is day 0. So if 2 p.m. on the 10th of May, the sellers accept this offer, we now have a fully executed offer, May 10th at 2 p.m. Day 18 is May 28th, 10 plus 18. May 10th, the day we got accepted, is day 0. May 11th is day 1. If you count 18 from May 10th, you get to May 28th. So in this example, we need the value back and we need to figure out any issues by May 28th. If we get to May 29th, we don't have a right as a buyer to negotiate appraisal. If the appraisal comes in at value, you're good to go. All right, loan contingency. Same thing as appraisal contingency, okay? What it means is how many days do you have to get a loan fully approved by the lender? I usually write 24, but you could write as low as 18, 15, 20. 24 is kind of normal. If you're trying to get aggressive, you could write 18. This just means if you're going to get a loan, how many days does your lender have to make sure you're good for it? Because if we get to day 25 and the lender says, oh no, I didn't notice they had this, or I'm still trying to get them approved, I'm not fully approved yet. On day 24, you need to figure out what is the risk. If it's too big of a risk and your lender really thinks there's a chance they don't get approved, like they lost their job in the last week, you might want to cancel before day 24. Cash purchase, for this example, to be NA. If you are buying with cash, write 0 or 1. You should give proof of funds the same day that you make the offer. Sale of other property. What this says is your buyer going to buy this home with the proceeds from the home they're selling? So do they have to sell their home first in order to buy this one? Sometimes that's the fact, right? You have a client who needs to sell in order to buy. If that's the case, you're going to check this. If that's not the case, don't. But if it is the case, check it, and then you need to attach the contingent upon sale addendum. That will be another video. It's a 1-page form. You fill it out with the house that they have to sell, the status of that sale, and you attach it as page 12 of this. Make sure to attach it too. Fixtures and personal property. This just pretty much says anything that is attached to the property, like literally fixed attached to the property, is going to sell with the property. if something does not, like a chandelier or ceiling fan, the seller has to say it. If you want something extra included into the sale, like a couch or a dog or a hot tub or anything that does not stay, you would write it in here. Most times I write all items per ML number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, dated 5/2/23. And then you could also write including, washer, dryer, and kitchen refrigerator currently in the property. Some people say you need to put like the washer, dryer, and kitchen refrigerators brand and serial number and type and age. Yes, that might be the safest way to protect your client, but at the same time, if I'm a seller and you send me an offer and it has a serial number of the washer and dryer, that's a red flag for me that you're a crazy agent and that you're going to just make this deal a living nightmare, and that I honestly would look at that and say, do I really want to get under contract with this? And I would tell my seller, this looks like an agent who is a little too much. And trust me, it's happened in the past, and that is why I say, if you're including washer, dryer, and kitchen refrigerator, you're good to go. If they switch it out without telling you, they're deceitful, and you can sue them. Also, look in the MLS. Does the washer, dryer, and refrigerator stay? If they do, great. If they don't, and you're going to write this, you're now adding things into the deal, so keep that in mind. Escrow, opening of escrow. What this says is who's going to do the title, who's going to do escrow. So the buyer gets to choose. So we always use Chicago title. I know it says Chicago title, but I still write Chicago title. And we use Courtney Duke. If you don't know who to use them. Here's the one thing. If you're in a competitive situation and you are trying to get your offer accepted, and on the MLS sheet, the seller prefers a title company, go with the preferred title company. It'll help your chances. This just says who is doing title. Earnest money upon acceptance, buyer is the EMD is shown, shall be deposited pursuant of Section 1A. Close of escrow. When are you closing? Well, standard is 30 days. So 30 days is June 1st. However, if you're using Robert Coomer, you could probably close in 15, 16 days or 20 days or longer. Talk to the other agent. Figure out when the seller wants to close and then put in that date. IRS disclosure. This pretty much says that everyone has to let the IRS know of what they're buying and selling. Title insurance. This says that the buyer is going to get title insurance. It is optional in the state of Nevada. However, if you decide not to get it, no title company will do your escrow because that's how they get paid. So practically, you're going to get title insurance. It's almost required. Buyer's due diligence. Buyer is or is not obligated to do due diligence. Always is. Don't skip. Don't ever check is not unless you're doing something crazy. How long is due diligence? Standard is 10. If you want to get crazy, 7. If you want to get insanely crazy, 5. Okay, but just remember, if you write 7 or 5, you only have 7 or 5 days to get the home inspection done, get the home inspection report back, look it over, decide what repairs you want to ask for, send that request for repairs to the seller, and get the seller's response back. Okay? And it's the amount of days that the buyer can back out for any reason. If the buyer decides they don't like this home on day 9, they can back out and get their earnest money deposit back. They're entitled to it. But if you go past that, you need another reason, like appraisal contingency. So I like 10 days. That's normal. But if you want to get very competitive, you could write 7. Property inspection condition. This just says what the buyer has the right to do as far as inspecting the condition of the property. During due diligence, the buyer can take any action they deem necessary, and they can hold any inspections they want. It also says that the seller must agree, within reason, to allow the buyer to do such inspections. It says it right here. During such period, buyers shall have the right to conduct non-invasive, non-destructive inspection. Okay. And then it also says about the seller. Anyways, yeah. Buyer's right to cancel or resolve. If during due diligence, buyer decides that they don't like this house for some reason, they have the right to cancel during this due diligence, or they have the right to figure out a resolution. Maybe they lower the price. Maybe they change something. They have the right to do it during this 10 days or due diligence period. If they fail to cancel or resolve during the due diligence period, then they're waiving the due diligence condition, and thus they are moving forward, and their EMD is at risk. Inspections. This is where it says, what inspections does the buyer choose to do? It also says that the seller will ensure necessary utilities are on. Okay. It also says, let's see right here. Okay. I waive or NA everything except home inspection. You ask why? Wouldn't a buyer want a termite inspection, and a roof inspection, and a pool inspection, and a mechanical inspection, and every inspection to make sure this house is great? Well, yes, but a home inspection checks all those things. And then if the home inspector says, you know what, the roof is really bad, I suggest you go get a a professional roof inspection, then you can go get it at the time. But for the beginning, we're going to waive it. But if the home inspector says he recommends it, then you can go get a home inspection during the due diligence period. Remember though, if you check buyer and then the home inspector comes out and says the roof is great, and you don't go get a roof inspection, your lender may say, per contract, buyer was supposed to get a roof inspection. We need to see a roof inspection. And then you're going to say, oh, they decided to waive it. Well, now you need an addendum waiving the roof inspection, and it becomes a mess. So we're going to waive or NA everything. The way I do this is I will waive something if it pertains to a house. I will NA it if it doesn't exist at the house. Most homes do not have septic lid removal, so NA. Survey, waive. Fungal contaminant, waive. Mechanical, waive. Pool spa, if it doesn't have a pool, you're going to NA it. At $400,000, you probably don't have a pool. Soils, waive. Septic, NA. Elevator, NA unless you're rich. Well, NA. Well, NA. Now there are wells and septic tanks in Las Vegas, but they're usually on bigger lots and non-HOAs. Wood burning, that's a fireplace. Let's just say it doesn't have a fireplace. Septic, NA. Structural, waived. Other, NA. Okay? Certifications, it says that the buyer has the right to get a certifications like mold or something if they want. They have to pay for it. Buyer's request repairs. Once you do the inspections, like I said, the buyer will look at the report with you, and you will ask for certain things to be repaired by the seller. It is buyer's responsibility to inspect. It is buyer's responsibility to look at the report, and you two will put together a list and get on a request for repairs form, fill it out correctly, and send the request for repairs form with the inspection report to the seller via email or seller's agent. Let them know it came, and then they will respond. Fees, prorations. Which fees and prorations are going to be paid by who? Escrow fees are paid 50-50. Real property transfer tax is paid by seller. Lender's title policy, paid by buyer. Appraisal, buyer. Owner's title policy, seller. Other, NA. Escrow fees are always 50-50. Both sides pay the exact same. Real property transfer tax, that is the tax to sell the home, so seller is going to pay for it. The formula is the number of thousands times 5.1. So in this case, it would be 400, because that's the number of thousands. So 400 times 5.1, I think it's like 2,040 or something like that. Anyways, you can figure it out. Lender's title policy, who pays that? Well, who's getting a lender? The buyer. Appraisal, well, who's getting an appraisal? The buyer. Owner's title policy, well, this one's a little weird, right? Some people don't even know what the owner's title policy is and don't understand it. The way to remember that is who's the owner? The seller, right? The seller is the owner. So seller pays for it. Prorations, anything that's prorated like trash, homeowners insurance, property taxes, sewer, HOAs, anything that's prorated, interest will be based on a 30-day and will be charged to each party based on how many of the 30 days they're going to own it when you close. So if you close May 10th, the seller will pay 10 days of these prorations and the buyer will pay 21 days or 20 days. And then prelim title report, within 10 days, the title company is going to pull a title report and send it to you. That shows if there's any issues on the title with like liens, encumbrances, a mechanical lien, a pool lien, a solar system lien, anything like that. If there's anything on the title that's going to keep it from closing, HOA liens, anything like that, they're going to pull it, okay? And also, if they pull it and there's a lot of bad stuff on there, the buyer then has the right to terminate the agreement per the prelim. And it says right here they can get their EMD refunded. I'm going to stop right there because I think my last video started around here. If you have any questions about closing fees or anything I said before, please let me know. There'll be much more videos on this form and how I filled it out. And please watch my other video to see the end of the RPA. Hope everyone has a great day.